Here we have Tom Kirchhoff, and he's the chief of Irondequoit Ambulance. What about a head injury? How would you know if there's brain activity or?
It's in your basic assessment. There's some eye assessments you can do, some strength assessments for the rest of the body. The true indicator of a head injury is how fast you get to the hospital and process into a CT machine.
Yeah.
That's the key. And going back to training, one of the things that's changed a lot in the community is stroke care. That we're looking for certain findings and symptoms, and that will indicate an immediate transport, and you're actually intercepted at the door of the hospital at this point and immediately go from the ambulance gurney into the CT scanner.
Does this show up in the taxes in Irondequoit?
Very, very small. It started in 2023, and there's some performance goals that we have to meet, and we can, if we meet the performance goals, we're able to voucher up to $300,000 for the year.
The fire department show up in the taxes, right?
They do. I won't comment on what they are, but they're significantly much more money than what ours is. The primary funding source is payment for transports, but like I said, the majority of our work is Medicaid and Medicare, and as our costs increase, the amount that those two insurance providers provide for reimbursement typically change very, very little every year.
Is that because of the state or the federal?
The state and the federal have to decide to change it. They're always trying to manage their funds, and unfortunately, we're forced to provide services, or not forced, we're required by statute to provide services whether or not we get paid for it.
Yeah, what's the biggest thing? I know they're talking about Narcan or something like that.
Narcan is really based off the opioid epidemic that's going on in the community right now. And they just changed it that you don't need a prescription for it. There's a number of programs out there. I know IPD is running one now that they have some Narcan they'll actually leave behind for at-risk individuals. We are also partnering with a county-wide program to leave Narcan. It's relatively safe. It has a limited application. But for those people that do have a risk of possibly overdosing, it's a benefit to have it around.
Yeah, I heard, is that true, there's over 100,000 overdoses in the U.S. a year now?
I'm not sure on the number, but we do experience quite a few of them here. A lot of the problems is, as the illegal drug manufacturers, they lace them with different amounts of stuff. And
how come? Cheapen them or just, I mean, not on purpose?
I think a lot of it goes back to sweetening their product, so to say, and how does their product appear better than another person's product? And I think I'm not sure what quality control a illegal drug manufacturer has, but how much of a dose you get is the problem. The people will typically overdose, and a lot of those are recoverable by Narcan. Not all of them, but a lot of them are.
You get a lot of bee stings too in the summer? Or?
Not really. That's not as big of a problem for us here. A lot of our bread and butter is in cardiac type events. A lot of issues with cardiac and respiratory problems. That's probably one of our big problems. And a second one is falls. We have a lot of falls in town. Those are very risky for someone of an older age. There's a concern for head injury is the big one we have. Again, because you can't identify if you have swelling or bleeding if you hit your head. It's primarily very risky if you have if you take blood thinners. Yeah. Which is very dangerous.
You can have internal bleeding.
And the problem with internal bleeding inside your skull, it could be fast. So we would signs and symptoms when we show up. It could also be very slow. It could be 8 to 10 hours later you have signs and symptoms. So that's why it's important if you're on blood thinners and you fall and you strike your head, you really need to go to the hospital and be evaluated. And the telltale evaluation for that is typically going to be a CAT scan.
Yeah, what would you do about internal bleeding in the head? I mean,
there's very little we can do. It's a time factor going to the hospital, and that's usually going to be met by a surgeon.
Yeah, because I was told somewhere that if you're out in the field, I mean, you're kind of dead because you can't patch it up, you can't.
Yeah, there's nothing for us to alleviate. Our major thing is identifying this is a emergent issue and changing our gears to move faster to the hospital.
Yeah.
So that's one of the other things to talk about probably in there is hospital destinations. For probably the vast number of calls, we'll transport you where you want to go within Monroe County. Unity, Rochester General, Highland, and Strong. Those are our destination points. We don't destinate to doctors' offices or urgent cares at this point. But there are some narrow instances where you have to go to a specific hospital. Those could be stroke-type calls. Rochester General is usually our primary one here. You can go to Strong also. And Highland also, they're considered comprehensive stroke centers where they're able to have surgical interventions within a certain amount of time if necessary. And the other major one is trauma. So if you get injured in a car accident, it could be any scenario. If you meet what our trauma protocol is, the only destination is Strong. The only destination is Strong. They have surgeons on staff and they're prepared to handle any emergent issues. Rochester General only handles routine traumas, maybe just a broken arm, maybe just a broken leg. Yeah, but if there's a high-speed motor vehicle crash, possibly a fall down a total flight of stairs, there's injuries that are not compatible with the discussion of the injury. Our protocol tells us we have to transport you, and that's probably one of the few times you'll wind up someplace you don't want to be. Because it would be inappropriate to go to a hospital that can't provide care.
Yeah, I did hear that somebody had a problem and they took them to the wrong hospital and the hospital decided they couldn't help them. They took them farther away and it was,
There's instances, there are some instances due to the critical nature, if there's airway compromise, that we can't ventilate a patient or ventilate a patient properly, they will go to the closest facility and then move on.
Yeah.
But if they're capable of taking the ride to Strong, that's probably where they need to go in those situations. We had one of those similar ones yesterday. The injury did not appear to be compatible with the best choice of General, and they went to Strong. I would rather have someone go to Strong and be evaluated and find out nothing is really wrong versus go to General and find out something is wrong and then have to be retransported. It's just a delay in care.
How long would it take to get to General? About 5 minutes from here?
Yeah, it's 5-6 minutes from here typically.
And then so Strong would be?
It's about 14 minutes, depends upon traffic, it depends upon your urgency in your transport.
So it's not too bad then?
Yeah, no. It's very, very rare anymore that we transport people lights and sirens to the hospital. That's typically not appropriate because your instance of getting in an accident just quadruples as soon as you put the lights on. So most of the time we run green. Very occasionally we'll run red to the hospital.
Yeah.
So.
All right. This is Don Markham here again. Thanks, Tom. You did a good job.
No problem.
Yeah.
There's often quite a number of questions about medical care and delivery here in Irondequoit and how it works. It's not as simple as it may look on the surface. So if you ever have a question, you're more than welcome to call 544-5112 and extension 100. We'll put you in the chief's office and we'll glad to answer your questions.
You deliver babies ever?
We get to do everything that people call for. So there's not many babies in Irondequoit. We have delivered. I've near missed a couple of them, to be honest with you. They were out when I got there. A couple other things we do here at Irondequoit. We do have a crutch, wheelchair, and walker loan closet. You can stop by. As our supply indicates, we'll loan that stuff out. Right now, post-pandemic, we're not doing car seat fittings. So if you have a child safety seat, best thing is call the fire department at this point. And what else?
CPR courses?
We do have a CPR course once a month. It's limited. It's typically on a Saturday, and we have to schedule in. You can either check our website at irondequoitambulance.com for that.
Anybody can take it? I mean,
Yes, we do have a cost for that. I believe it's $50 to take it, because a lot of the cost actually goes directly to American Heart Association to pay for the card.
Yeah.
Okay.
First aid courses or anything? Or?
No, we don't do any other courses at this time. I believe you can get some first aid courses through the American Heart Association.
Yeah.
All the EMT training takes place at the Monroe County Public Safety Training Facility on Scottsville Road.
Yeah, yeah, and you're located at Norton Street, what, Norton Street?
We're at Norton Street, pretty much Norton and Culver area. We're located at 2330 Norton Street.
Yeah. All right, thanks.
You betcha. Thank you.
You did a good job. I give you